Hey, Nick here, Animal Engineering. Welcome back to the channel. So in this episode we're going to tackle the rear doors of the van. So once I've got the roof on, and you see the last episode there's those two little pieces up in the corner which were full of lead before. I was just going to go make some patches up for that, but then I sort of decided that it's probably best to get the doors on first to make sure when I make those pieces it follows the curve of the door. Otherwise, if I go ahead and make them and then go put the doors on, it might look a bit funky. But as a whole, the doors aren't too bad. I spent a few hours yesterday just going through the hinges with the heating torch, getting all the old snap screws and everything out, finding all the hardware, getting it all back together. So they're back on there. You can see they're not lining up too good. This door's overlapping this one a bit. So yeah, you can see the gap on this side here. It's quite a lot larger than the other side. So one of the first things I'm going to do is get this hinge off, and I'll take it over to the press, and we'll take a little bit of the bend out of it and see if we can bring this door over. And then once we get these lining up and closing, we'll look at cutting the skins off the doors, separating them, cleaning the inside, getting it all painted and looking dirty. As a whole, they're not too bad. I don't know if you can see, there's quite a dent. It's quite a dent in that door there. So once we get it cut apart, we'll fix that up. So the inside of that door is pretty good. Inside of this door down this bottom corner here, you can see there's a bit of a hole there and it's sort of dented in, so we'll clean that up. The bottom of that passenger side door, there looks to be a little bit of rust popping through there, so we may have to do a little knife along the bottom of that one and put a new bit of steel in. This bottom sort of step piece, that's got a bit of cancer in it. I'm going to try and save as much of that panel as I possibly can. Same as before, trying to keep as much of the original steel and patina as possible. Alright, well with that quick little tweak, all I've done is that peak, that bend, I took the peak down just over 2 mil, maybe 3. What's that, 1/8 of an inch? That was enough just to bring that door over, so we've got a nice gap down the middle here now. This door is still not closing perfectly. The latch down the bottom is a bit stiff and it's not riding up like it should. But I'm happy with that. That's looking very good compared to what it was. So I think I'm going to focus on this bottom piece first. I'll get that in situated and repaired. And then once that's done, I'll move on to the doors and get them sorted. Rightio, we'll come over to the bench. I've got this piece off. You can see she's pretty well roached out. Really, the only bit I really want to try and save is this main panel here. Rightio, well I think I've come up with a bit of a solution. Just been down to Bunnings and grabbed a couple of little lengths of steel. Using a couple of bits of angle, a bit of RHS. I think I've got a pretty good representation of the original part. Get some weld through primer on these 3 pieces and then we'll get them all tacked together. Also hit this piece with some rust converter. So that'll come up looking pretty good on the van, match the rest of it. So yeah, we'll get all this tacked together and then I've got to mount the 2 reverse lights into this panel. I've got to have reverse lights here. I guess you could have reverse lights everywhere, I don't know. So we're kicking on with that. Sort of trying to rush through a little bit. I've got to go to work in a few days and I want to get these doors done before I go. Well, there you have it. That is the rear step piece all done. It's pretty damn solid and all new except for that piece going along the bottom there. So next thing I'll do is just drill a few holes for these, which will be my reverse lights. So these are from a They are from a Chevy 1955 to 57 pickup truck of some description. So we'll drill 6 holes, get these in there, and then we'll be able to weld it into the back of the van and then kick on with these doors. Rightio, well that took about 5 hours to get that bottom piece done, and oh man, I'm super stoked to just have that piece back in the bottom. Kind of finishes off the whole rear end. Now, next thing on the list is we'll get these doors off and do all the repairs to them. So we'll get the windows out while it's up there, and then we'll get these doors off and start cutting them to pieces. Alright, well, we've got the passenger side off the van on the table here. Just going to go through, take the hinges and all the hardware off it, go around with a wire wheel and try and work out how it's welded together. Yeah, try and work out how it's welded together, and then once I've nutted that out, we'll cut it to pieces. Alright, well, after a quick bit of investigation while wheeling there, I have discovered that it is spot welded the whole way around. I was hoping it was just going to be like little tacks where they pinch together like on the edge. But no, there's quite a lot of spot welds. So there's no point in filming that. I don't believe I've filmed spot welds before, and it's not overly interesting to watch or to do for that matter. So I'm going to switch my brain off and drill out a few hundred spot welds. We'll cut back once it's all separated. Alrighty, well, 3 hours later I have done all the spot welds in that door. I do not enjoy doing spot welds, I must say. Not the most pleasant job, but anyway, it is done. So, you see the inside of the panel, all covered in surface rust. This bottom piece here, it's got a bit of rust holdage action going on there. So we have to chop that little piece out of the bottom of this door. We'll have to patch in. You see obviously the inside of the other bit of the door, same deal. But as much as I don't like doing spot welds, it's kind of necessary. Well, there's no point in doing this much work and then getting it on the road and having it rust out 6 months later. That'd be a bit pointless. So we'll get that cleaned up, and I'll just go do the same thing. I've got to do the other door as well, so I'll knock that out. Alrighty, I just went down to S&S Industries in Midvale, local paint shop, and I got some paint stripper. Went through, done the inside of both doors. It'll give me a top tip, which is pretty handy. So like, you get a razor blade, and you just go along the paint and you sort of cross hatch through and cut the paint, and it allows the paint remover to get down into those cracks and under the paint, and it works a hell of a lot faster. A little tip, that one. I tried it and it was just going a bit slow, and then yeah, he's like, oh yeah, no, you just cut through it and it works a hell of a lot faster. So they've come up pretty good. I still need to get the other side sandblasted. I'll get all the work done on them first, and then I'll get it all sandblasted up before I get it into some 2-pack epoxy. So you can see the bottom of this panel is pretty roached out. Big dents in here, and it's pretty chewed out and rusted along the bottom. So pretty much just going to make this whole bottom piece as a new piece. But I think to start with, I'm going to try and hammer it back to its former shape, and then that way I can get a bit better pattern of what I've got to make to actually repair it. Alrighty, well there you go, that is the corner that I have to try and make. Could be one of the most complicated pieces I've attempted, I feel. There is a lot going on in that little piece. So yeah, we'll cut up some new sheet metal and we'll start trying to nut it out. Just had a quick break for a couple of hours there. Just had Cian from Blast Mates here in Perth. Just came and wet blasted all the panels for me. Super good dude. Yeah, obviously the outside of the door skins haven't been blasted. So it didn't really pick up too much extra rust that I didn't really know was there, which is good. So yeah, we'll kick on and keep fixing holes. Alright, well, we've been jamming away here for a while. I've got the bottom of that other door finished, that's done, all the rust is gone. There's a few little screw holes and stuff that were around it, I've filled all them up. Yeah, I've just been through, made up a little patch panel for that. Turned out right, so we'll get that welded in, and then that'll be both inner door pieces done. This one's pretty good really, didn't have bug or dents, just that rust along the bottom, so one piece like that, and then that's that bit done. Alright, well that's the rust out of the bottom of the two inner pieces all cut out and repaired. So next on the list is this panel here. So that's got a fair bit of rust just along that bottom edge. So we'll just take a nice little slice off the bottom and repair that. You can see obviously the bottom of this panel, fair bit of rust on the bottom of that one. The other one's pretty good. They have taken, I don't know if you can sort of see on camera, they have warped a bit from the sandblasting, but I don't think it's too much of an issue. There's that rib that goes down the middle of the panel which supports the centre of it, and then by the time we pull it back to the flange, I think they should straighten up pretty good. You can see a bit of a warp there, so first thing I'm going to do is take it over to the English wheel, which is a flat wheel, and I'm just going to run it right up into these corners and see if we can flatten it out a bit on the wheel with no pressure. We'll see how that goes. Alright, well that's that bottom bit of that panel all done. So, it hasn't turned out too bad. So, there's a fair bit of work to do still on it, just tweaking the little flanges, where I split the spot welds apart, they're like popped out and stuff like that. So I've just got to go around with a hammer and dolly, tidy all that up, grind the heads of the spots down, ready to weld them back together. And I'll see if I can tweak this panel a little bit more as well. And then we'll get some epoxy primer on them, and then some insulation, and start welding them back together. Well, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera really. I've already spent another hour and a half to 2 hours, a little bit of time on the English wheel, and then just going around working all the edges all the way around the panel, just tidying it up. I don't know if it's really going to show on camera, but you can see it's got a much nicer profile to it now all around. It hasn't got any warps or tweaks like it did before. So I'm going to call that one done. Now the other one, it's got a bit of warpage. So you can see that one's quite sunken in the middle, so I'll do the same on that one, go to the English wheel, try and stretch it out a little bit. Yeah, just have a bit of a play around with it. I want to try and get it looking a lot better before I actually start welding. Once it's welded, there ain't no going back from that. Right, so I've just leaned them back up against the van for a minute while I clean the workbench off. You can probably see here a bit better, like this one on this side hasn't been touched yet. This is one I just finished. You see how this one, it's got a little shape and it's just sitting there nice and good, like the actual proper shape it should have. And you see this one here is like a bit like a taco, been Dorito-fied. So yeah, that's sort of before and after, I suppose. So we need to get that one looking the same as this one now. Rightio, well, finished up yesterday. I've got 2 coats of 2-pack epoxy primer onto the interior of the doors, and I've got the weld-through primer everywhere where it's going to be welded. Now, next step is I'm going to put the insulation in before I weld them back together. So same as on the roof, the 2 bits I've done, so using the car builder's sound deadener, and then the acoustic thermal insulation, the 2-layer acoustic and thermal insulation, so there's 3 layers of protection from the old Aussie sun. Now, if anyone knows anyone from car builders or rare spares or anyone that can hook me up with a bit of a discount on this stuff, it's not cheap. And to do the whole van, the roof and the walls and everything, it's probably actually going to be one of the most expensive parts of this project. But anyway, it has to be done. It gets like 50 degrees here, so you need to be insulated from that while you're driving around having fun. So we'll get this in the doors and then we'll get them welded together. Rightio, well there you go, that is all the insulation in the doors. Rust is gone, they're all painted, ready to go. So all that's left to do now is weld them back together and then get them back on the van. Well, there you go, after several days I've got them all reassembled, the hinges, everything are back in, primed up, ready to go. We'll still need a little bit of filler work down the track when we actually come to do the finished paintwork on the inside of the van. I'm not too concerned about that. I've left the hardware as it is for now. Same thing, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that. The handles on the outside will have to change so I can lock everything up. And I'm not too sure if I'm going to get everything nickel plated or just clean it up and paint it. So for now, leave it like that. We'll get them back on the van, see how she looks. Rightio, well I think we'll leave it there for this episode. As I say, the doors aren't completely finished. There will still be a little bit of filler work and stuff to do once I move to the painting phase of the interior. I'll come back and finish that off. Having a bit of an issues with the latching on the driver's side. It just doesn't go up quite high enough to catch on the catch. It goes up a little bit, stays, but then if you pull the door, it comes off. But I'm going to get all new hardware from Mill Supplies. Give you a big list of stuff that I need from there, and I'll do one order. We'll use a freight forwarding company because they don't deliver to Australia, unfortunately. Yeah, it's all looking pretty good. So if you've made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. It is appreciated. Give the old video a thumbs up. And on the next episode, we'll be tackling the sliding doors. So I've been through and put them in. Got the grill in. Ooh, Ooh. Had a couple of beers and thought I'd throw everything back on it. But yeah, next episode we'll be tackling those front sliding doors. And I'll just put them in at the moment, just measuring clearances and all that sort of stuff for parts I need to order for it. And then also it is time for the Commodore to surrender its life. It's a shame. Such a good, nice car. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.